no one is safe in Trump's America. He is trying to incite fear and is directly assaulting the rule of law.
Yes. You'll never guess who she's talking about because, Democrat members of Congress, they use the words, but they don't know what they mean. And their goals are, well, let's just say not noble goals, not good goals, not positive goals, not the goals you want your daughter showering with. That's a for sure. I'll tell you that much right now. Well, a very good Tuesday, too, and welcome back. Another heaping helping of Democrat crazy today. I'm sorry to have to report, but they just keep it up, don't they? It's like they're cokeheads. It's like they're all Hunter Biden. They're all coked up, running around being crazy for like 21 hours a day. Crazy, man, crazy. I've got another story out of Maryland for you. Turns out there's another Maryland man. There's another Maryland man. The Democrats are going to have to call him a Maryland man. They're not going to want to deport him. They might want to run him for office. He's in custody now. You'll never guess the particulars on this one. Breathtaking. 100% because of the Democrat Party unambiguously getting people murdered all over the place and all of that. Not the good guys. These are not the good guys. Let me tell you this much. We've got updates. We got 4 more Democrat members of the House of Representatives went down to El Salvador to demonstrate their Democrat Party congressional support for gang members who were illegally in the country beating the heck out of their women folk. And it wasn't his wife when he started beating her. She only married him after the beatings were a regular thing, apparently, according to the police reports and the restraining order and the court documents, because the Democrats insist he hasn't been charged with a crime. Is he here illegally in the country? He was afraid. And I love this. This is their guy, Garcia. We call him Garcia for short. It's his code name. They insist he hasn't committed any crimes, except for all of the crimes like being in the country illegally. And then, I love this. His excuse when it was discovered he was in the country illegally and he's an MS-13 gang member. He said, you can't possibly send me back to El Salvador because my membership in MS-13 will get me killed by a rival gang. And then the Democrats say there's no proof that he's an MS-13 gang member. I'm sorry, that was his explanation. That was his excuse. That's why we couldn't deport him back to El Salvador, they like to say in the El Salvador. Pretty amazing stuff there. They're a crazy bunch. These people, can I just say these people, because these people are very, very unwell. And we've got a lot more news for you because these 4 Democrats that went to El Salvador, they can't stop talking. It might be the cocaine. I'm not sure. Cocaine makes you talk a lot, right? I talk to Michael like he does cocaine all the time. That's one of our little inside jokes. I have no reason to believe that he does cocaine all the time. In fact, he could probably use a little more energy. He could drink a Pepsi or something, and that'd be okay. But we've got he's got coffee. He raises his coffee to me. We've got crazy Democrat members of the House of Representatives. Yasmin Ansari. Yasmin Ansari sounds like she's being held by ISIS or something, but no, she's a Democrat from Arizona. And then Maxine Dexter, a Democrat from Oregon. They're in El Salvador because they love gangs. They want more of it here. Amazing stuff. Yeah, this Maxine Dexter woman. Robert Garcia, who's really much closer to being a communist than being an American. And the guy who's not the singer, not the musician, Maxwell Frost. Not Max Frost and the Troopers, but a different Max Frost. And he is a radical. He's an extremist. He's down there, too. So these Democrats, they're down there, and they're cheerleaders for. I need to do this today. I'm going to put together a list of the Democrat Party heroes, and I'm going to tape them to the desktop here in the studio because they've got so many heroes now that it's difficult to keep up with them. But they love Mahmoud Khalil, who is currently incarcerated because of his support for the radical Islamic jihadi death cult of Hamas. calling for the total extermination of the Jewish population, genocidal Jew haters, and then they call everybody Nazis. Who's calling them Nazis today, Michael? There's a list of people. We had the Reverend Al Gore. He's out there. He's in San Francisco at a climate thing because today is Earth Day. It's Earth Day. You know what? I'm in favor of Earth. I'm a friend of the Earth. And being a friend of the Earth, I'm not much of a friend of the Democrat Party because the left, nobody bigger polluters than the left. They're really something. But he called Trump and everybody Nazis, the corpulent, gas-filled, bloated bag of blubber that is Al Gore. Maybe he just wants his chakra released because, he very frequently likes to have his chakra released, especially when there are there might be a professional masseuse in the room. Hey, could you maybe, my chakra is feeling a little constrained. Maybe you could help me with that. So, the corpulent Al Gore, he's out there. How much he sold his TV station for $300 million to the Arabs, I think, right? Because they're so good for the environment and for air quality, what with all the oil and all that stuff. But we've got that. And who else? Let's see. Somebody else calling everybody Nazis yesterday, too. Oh, yeah, the Larry David thing. Larry David, who's funny, but, he's brain damaged because they're all insane. They're all completely insane. But he's calling everybody Nazis, too. He's got an article, and he's calling everybody Nazis. And you know what? They're like, they're this far from rounding up the Jews and throwing them into boxcars. I'm holding the tip of my right index finger 1 inch over the end of my right thumb. This far away because they're terrorizing the Jewish population on college campuses and in New York City and in Los Angeles. And they're the bad guys, not Hamas. The lefty Democrats even have Larry David is Jewish, I believe, and he's coming out doing basically the bidding of Hamas, a genocidal anti-Semitic death cult. But never mind that. That's the Democrat Party. Aren't they amazing? So they're going around calling everybody Nazis while they're terrorizing the Jews. And, of course, they're going to snuff out 1 million babies this year and harvest their organs for medical reasons, not like Dr. Yosef Mengele or anything like that. Isn't that amazing? And Chris Van Hollen, he's a Democrat. They love anarchy and chaos and mayhem and everything else. But he's the hero of the media because, and I was texting back and forth with Michael Piercy and with Kevin Tober and Randy Lefebvre, who runs the Chris Plant store on Al Gore's amazing internet. Peace be upon him. Al Gore, we are truly blessed to live in the same time as Al Gore. And just madness that I get. It's almost impossible to keep up. But yesterday I was pointing out, and I was talking to my best girl, and we were taking a little news, and I got the laptop and the iPad and the Jumbotron, and we're gobbling up news because it's my job. It's what I do, And I said, well, this is kind of wild because, the Democrats, they've got really, really bad poll numbers, really low poll numbers right now when it comes to their approval ratings because more and more people are recognizing that they're mostly mentally ill, violently, criminally insane, firebombing the home of a Jewish governor in Pennsylvania. Notice how that's a non-story? That's no big deal. There are so many, like Laken Riley, murdered by an illegal alien in Georgia on a college campus, and that's a non-story. Rachel Morin, murdered mother of 5 on a jogging trail in Maryland. That's a non-story. If it were not for what the left calls conservative media, those stories would go completely and utterly uncovered by a corrupt media. But last night I texted my friends Michael and Kevin and Randy. I texted, the reason the poll numbers are looking so bad for the Democrats, and this sums it up, I think, is that no one believes the media anymore. And that's it. The media has been their messenger. The media is their message. Paraphrase Marshall McLuhan going way back. But the media has lost the trust and confidence of the American people because of their filthy corruption and all their fake news, from Russian collusion to Hunter Biden's laptop to Trump can't win and Hillary is good and Joe Biden's not senile. And nobody trusts the news media anymore. And since the news media overwhelmingly has been the mouthpiece for the Democrat Party, the front group for the Democrat Party, now that they have self-immolated and destroyed their own reputations because they lie so much, and their lies are so big that no one would dare to not believe them. That's their boy Gurgle. They love Gurgle. Might be channeling Gurgle, as the Reverend Al Charlatan might say. Aren't they amazing? But Joseph Goebbels, famously of the Socialist Workers' Party of Adolf Hitler, famously said you should make the lie so big that no one would dare to not believe it. And that's where the Democrat Party is today. But I texted the reason that the poll numbers are looking so bad for the Democrats is that no one believes the legacy news media anymore. And that's all there is to it. You know, they're spokesmodels in the media. They still pose for the Democrats, and they still lie for the Democrats. And if you're one of those few people, a shrinking number of people, that still lives under the misimpression that you can watch CNN all day long, you can read the Washington Post and the New York Times every day, and then you'll be well informed. That's the problem. It's like the old, who was it that said if you don't read the newspapers long ago, 100 years ago, was it Will Rogers? Said if you don't read the newspapers, you're uninformed. If you do read the newspapers, you're misinformed. And that's never been more true than it is today, but it's apparently been true for a very long time because, a long time ago, then maybe Mark Twain. That's, it's harder than ever because of the internet to find out who said what famous quote you grew up with, right? Because the internet is half right. It's about half right, but never mind that. So the spokesmodels for the Democrats, they still pose, they still lie for the Democrats, but if you just get your news from CNN and, God forbid, MS-13, NBC, then you're not well informed. You don't know what's going on at all, but you vote Democrat. There's a roughly 100% probability that if you get all your news from the Washington Post, the New York Times, CNN, and MSNBC, approximately 100% likelihood that you vote Democrat. And you think that Harvard should get $9 billion taxpayer dollars so they can teach the Hamas curriculum, I guess is their plan there. Aren't they amazing? So we've got that going for us. And completely berserkly, that's a school in California, berserkly. Yeah, but Van Hollen and the other Democrats and Dana Bash and CNN and don't believe a thing that they tell you. And I've got a new Maryland man for you. There's a new Maryland man because you know how their favorite MS-13 member with the MS-13 tattoos on his knuckles. Did you see President Trump tweeted that out? Because he's like, the filthy, corrupt news media, the most corrupt institution in America, of course, the United States military, and the United States media, rather, and looking at a military story. And President Trump has to tweet it out because the news media is not going to cover it. And again, I've got another story for you that they're not going to cover. It's quite remarkable. Over 2 weeks after she was reported missing, authorities believe they've found the body of Lesbia, I'm not kidding, Lesbia, Lesbia Milith Ramirez Guerra. That's a war, Guerra. Detectives made the discovery alongside detectives Prince George's County Police Department, along with Baltimore. And wait till you hear the kicker for this one, the zinger for this one, because they've arrested someone, and the Democrats will soon be called. Here's the thing, the news media won't cover it because it doesn't fit the Democrat Party's, desired outcome. But this is quite a remarkable one. Just amazing stuff. The person arrested, you'll never believe. The Maryland man, is he a father of two, Michael? I'll get to that coming up. We're at 888-630-9625. The Democrats have another one to rally for. Chris here with a list of things that none of us should trust. The Washington Post, the New York Times, anything on CNN. Here's a list of things that I do trust. The Washington Times. Support real journalism for just $1 a week at washingtontimes.com/Chris. All right. I wish you Democrats had slowed down a little bit. Stop the killing. The left is here They're not liberals. Let us go to the telephones, Michael. We remain at 888-630-9625. I am putting together a list today of Democrat Party heroes. They should all get scholarships to Harvard, and they probably will. Let's go to, you see, the anti-Semites are on a tear at Harvard again. They shackled themselves to something because they hate the Jews. And the Harvard is suing President Trump for billions of dollars because they want to keep the Socialist Workers Party going. These people are, we're in a very unwell time in the United States of America. And the reason is the left. Let's go to Charlie calling from Sanford, Florida. Charlie, you're on the Chris Plant Show.
Mr. Plant.
Mr. Charlie. Thank you, buddy.
Thanks for taking my call.
You bet.
So a couple of weeks back, you were talking about a story about Luigi Mangione.
Uh-huh.
And when I'd take my dog for a walk in the morning, and when I heard that, I almost fell over in shock because he was so angry with that CEO that he shot him because he had a spinal cord injury, and supposedly he was dysfunctional. And as soon as I heard that, I thought to myself, what in the hell? What type of porn is he doing? If you're broken, I guess you got a couple things left.
Yeah, we learned that he spent his free time making porn movies of himself. Yeah.
Yes, self-produced porno movies and volumes of it. So I don't know what type of porn he was making, but it's just disturbing to think about.
Disabled porn? Is that what you're thinking? Like wheelchair porn?
Disabled porn. Yes, disabled porn. That'd be kind of like midget porn, or.
I think we have to call them little people now. But yeah, maybe like disabled wheelchair little people porn.
I do not want to see those videos, and I feel bad for the people that have to watch them for evidence.
Well, Democrats want to watch them because Democrats love Luigi because he murdered a CEO named Brian Thompson, a father of two. And the Democrats, last time I looked, and it was a week ago, they had raised about $950,000 for Luigi Mangione. There are women sending their undergarments to him in prison because they're Democrats, and the Democrat Party is, I think, an identifiable membership in the Democrat Party, I think, is an identifiable mental illness at this point.
It seems that way. I guess that's what it takes to get into the Democrat Party right now.
It's easy entree, that's for sure. Check the box. Are you a victim of any kind? Check a victim box over here. Do you hate?
Thank God I'm not.
Yeah, right. Check a box. They've got a lot of boxes to check, especially in San Francisco. But Charlie, big fun. You've got the right attitude toward it all. It's not the easiest time to maintain the right attitude, but we do what we can. We're pretty good. Well, you hear the latest, though, Charlie. So here's another story that the news media is not covering because it's too terrible for the Democrat Party while they're the champions of illegal alien gang members from El Salvador, MS-13 and MS-13 NBC, with all their funny shows, the DNC TV. They love mayhem, and they want their daughters to date Luigi Mangione, who murdered the healthcare CEO Brian Thompson on the sidewalks of New York, right? This is the party that loves George Floyd, a career criminal, lifetime junkie who died effectively of heart failure due to the enormous amount of fentanyl and methamphetamine coursing through his system when he was being arrested yet again and resisting arrest yet again for yet another felony that he was perpetrating against an immigrant man trying to work hard 15 hours a day running his store. But the Democrats are on the side of the criminal and then the police officer, Derek Chauvin, was sent to prison for murder where a Democrat stabbed him 22 times, and the news media applauded that. They smiled and went to Starbucks and got a $9 coffee. But they got that going for him. And Luigi Mangione, he's all their daughters want to date him, and they want their daughters to date him too. Then Jose Antonio Ibarra, who murdered Laken Riley in Georgia on her college campus. And, of course, Victor Martinez Hernandez, another illegal alien from El Salvador, who murdered the mother of 5 and raped and murdered the mother of 5 in Maryland while she was out on a little run in her neighborhood, her nice neighborhood. But Victor Martinez Hernandez, an illegal alien from El Salvador, had different plans altogether. By the way, he was a fugitive from El Salvador when he came illegally into the country under Joe Biden, and he was a fugitive from El Salvador from law enforcement because he murdered a woman in El Salvador, allegedly. This is like allegedly. Should I allegedly wear my big hat to court? Because, you got to say allegedly when you're hanging out with Democrats a lot, because they all think they went to Harvard Law, and half of them did. That's one of the funny things. So that's just great stuff. Also, he was wanted, Victor Martinez Hernandez, who murdered Rachel Morin and raped her and the mother of 5. Also wanted in Los Angeles for a home invasion when he came in illegally, and an assault on a woman in that home in Los Angeles. And the Democrats just keep letting him go because the Democrats, they're like, oh, all cultures are exactly the same. Come on, Syria, Indiana, what's the difference? It's all equal. And here's the story from ABC Baltimore, ABC 2 in Baltimore, WMAR. The headline, and it is another story that the Democrats have buried in a shallow grave and tamped it down with the back of the shovel. Detectives find body believed to be missing Waldorf woman, charge boyfriend with her murder. And that's as far as most people get. What about the boyfriend? Boyfriend's uncle arrested, charged as an accessory. It's an accessory. Women like, Democrat, they like accessories from Tiffany's, but it's not the kind of accessory that you're normally looking for here. This is a pretty appalling story, as you might imagine, on a number of levels. And the story goes on from the ABC station in Baltimore, Charles County, Maryland. Over 2 weeks after she was reported missing, authorities believe they have found the body of Lesbia Milith Ramirez Guerra. Detective made the discovery April 17th alongside detectives from Prince George's County Police Department in an area outside of Cedarville State Forest in Prince George's County. This is no problem for Democrats. The body was found buried in a heavily wooded area of the forest, according to authorities. It was taken to the chief medical examiner in Baltimore for an autopsy. Now, Guerra, the murdered woman, the body found, mother of two, had disappeared from her home in Waldorf. There are a lot of mothers of 2 involved in this. And the Democrats say, oh, that means her murderer is a dad. He's a father of 2. And they're just unbelievable. So the investigation into her disappearance began after deputies determined that the circumstances surrounding her disappearance were suspicious, as you might imagine. But Guerra, the mother of 2, disappeared from her home in Waldorf on March 21st, reported missing by her boyfriend, 24-year-old Casey Robinson Alexi Barrera Rosa. That is a lot of syllables for a man's name. My name is Chris Plant. That's I tried to just have a 1-syllable name like Cher, but I had to go with 2. Chris Plant. My name is Chris Plant. His is Casey Robinson Alexi Barrera Rosa, right? And here's the thing. The investigation began, and it was the 24-year-old boyfriend, Casey Robinson Alexi Barrera Rosa. Get an Alexi in there because in Central America, the communists, during the Soviet days, with the help of the Democrat Party at the time, they invaded in Nicaragua and so on. So you see, in that part of the world, you see a lot of Latino names, or Latinx, as the Democrats like to say. And then they throw in a Russian name every now and then because the communists were trying to take over, and they sunk their teeth in pretty good. But this is pretty amazing. According to WJLA, ABC 7, that's in Washington, D.C., Barrera Rosa, that's the 24-year-old boyfriend with a 14-syllable name, was apprehended by ICE, Immigration Customs Enforcement agents, after it was determined he did not have any legal status in the United States. Wait just a minute. So you're telling me that we've got another woman, a mother of two, murdered, dragged into the forest, buried in a shallow grave, and now under arrest is the 24-year-old illegal alien boyfriend, Casey Robinson Alexi Barrera Rosa. From which illegal alien beep hole does he reside? You might want to know. But just amazing. Following his arrest, he was made a person of interest in Guerra's case. ICE arrested him. And the Democrats say, we don't want to cooperate with ICE. We're not going to cooperate with ICE because the Democrat Party is the party of murder and the party of crime. And every day I invite Democrats to call in and discuss the Democrat Party with me and the world as it is, the country as they have made it. And still the Democrats, they're not very eager, I've found, to have a discussion about the state of the Democrat Party. Pretty amazing stuff. So now, after finding the body, detectives obtained an arrest warrant for Barrera Rosa, charging him with murder. He's currently in custody out of state. But why would he be in custody out of? Because the Democrats gave him, documentation and money to flee the police, and they don't cooperate with ICE, and the Democrats don't cooperate with the police. And, it's what was the Joseph Stalin thing? If you're going to make an omelet, you're going to have to break a few eggs. And remember, the Democrats, Barack Obama promised the fundamental transformation of America, and he instructed the American people that we shouldn't worry about illegal aliens learning to speak English. We should teach our kids to speak Spanish because they've got long-term plans for us.
Instead of worrying about whether immigrants can learn English, they'll learn English. You need to make sure your child can speak Spanish.
Yeah, because that's the world that the Democrats with the open borders and the gangs and Venezuela and El Salvador, MS-13, Tren de Aragua, the Mexican drug cartels. This is the America that the Democrat Party envisions for the future. And you're going to have to break a few eggs because the Democrats are making an omelet, aren't they? Aren't they amazing? Yes, they are. So he had fled the state, and ICE found him, and the Democrats don't cooperate. So they were looking for him because his girlfriend went missing. And then he disappeared from around here. And then they found her body in a shallow grave in the woods. And then they said, maybe we should look for the boyfriend since he's vanished and he's an illegal alien and doubtless a gang member, because the Democrat Party wants more illegal alien gang members in Maryland, where the Democrats can refer to him as a Maryland man. In fact, the Democrats and the media have been out there for ages now talking about the Maryland man because, boy, they just want to call him a Maryland man. They don't want to call him an illegal alien. They don't want to say he's from El Salvador. They don't want to say he's a gang member. They don't want to say he's got MS-13 gang tattoos on his knuckles. They just want to call him, something very neutral.
The Trump administration abducted and imprisoned a Maryland man.
Kilmar Abrego Garcia, the Maryland man.
A Maryland man.
Maryland man.
The growing calls to return the Maryland man.
That Maryland man.
The Maryland man.
The wrongful deportation of a Maryland man to El Salvador.
He is, of course, the Maryland man now held in El Salvador.
Now they've got a new Maryland man. Got another Maryland man, and he's under arrest for the murder of a mother of two. And leaving her body in a shallow grave in the woods in Prince George's County, which borders our nation's capital, Washington, D.C., because the Democrats have political power, and this is what they do with it. The left, being in charge of any country, always leads to the same thing. None of it is ever good. None of it. They're not liberals. They're the left. Let's go to soundbite number one, because all these Democrat members of the House of Representatives, they have trouble. 4 more Democrat members of the House of Representatives, because we had a Democrat senator from Maryland, Chris Van Hollen, who yesterday I accidentally called Van Halen because it just kind of rolls off the tongue, Eddie Van Halen, and he's better. I'm not aware that he's murdered anybody, Eddie Van Halen. I think he's probably a pretty good guy. But here's Democrat Congresswoman Yasmin Ansari. She's a Democrat from Arizona, but I wouldn't really say that her family roots are in Arizona. I don't think her family fought against communism in the Vietnam War, fought against fascism in World War II, or against the Kaiser's boys in World War I. I don't think that's her. Her family roots go there.
After a long day, we have arrived in El Salvador. I am here with several of my colleagues to demand that Donald Trump release Kilmar Abrego Garcia, union member, Maryland man who was wrongfully detained and deported.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he was wrongfully detained and deported. Other than the immigration hearing that found him to be an MS-13 member, and then the appeals court for immigration that found him to be an MS-13 member, and then the Prince George's County gang unit that found him hanging out with MS-13 members, and the tattoos of MS-13 on his knuckles, and the fact that he said, "You can't deport me back to El Salvador. The rival gang will kill me." Oh, what rival gang? Not MS-13, because I'm a member of MS-13. So you can't send me back there because we hate MS-13 will murder me because I'm a member of MS-13. And then the Democrat members of Congress and beyond, they say, he's committed no crime other than beating the heck out of his baby mama, who then married him in prison. And now, because likely the terror, the fear of the gang that he belongs to and has tattooed on his knuckles, she now says, "Oh, no, he was real nice to me. That restraining order for the multiple beatings and the black eye and the blood and all that stuff, I was just terrified. But now I'm more terrified." And the Democrats are like, "Good, then shut up," because that's the Democrat Party. Another Democrat from Oregon this time named Maxine Dexter. She's a congresswoman. And is she a woman or a man? Because Maxine could be a Democrat man.
This is what we all have been calling a constitutional crisis, yet it is more severe than anything we've seen. We cannot stay silent. We must stay loud. I am here because I refuse to wait for something to happen. We are here to release Kilmar Abrego Garcia.
They demand, they insist they need to release Kilmore because Kilmore is their line of work. Speaking of which, did you see the PhD student at the George Mason University just outside of Washington, D.C., who, kind of in keeping with the Harvard suing Trump because Harvard says he violated the Constitution. Really? By saying Harvard doesn't get $9 billion when they're running a Nazi death camp and calling everybody Nazis? Is that it? That's pretty mad. But I'll get to the Harvard suing over billions of dollars because, truck drivers in Indiana should be paying Harvard to create a wave of anti-Semitism and anti-Americanism in America. Aren't they amazing? Congresswoman Maxine Dexter, she went to El Salvador. I assume we're paying for it.
We all should be terrified by the idea that anyone could be taken and put away in another country.
Okay, yeah, the taken and put away. You mean their home country? Is that the country that you're talking about? Because I think it'd be interesting if illegal aliens were sent back to their home countries. By the way, today is Earth Day, and it was 3 years ago today that a Democrat, Wynn Allen Bruce from Colorado, came to Washington and set himself on fire on the plaza in front of the Supreme Court. And that's an anniversary worth remembering, I think, isn't it? But there is a PhD candidate who plans, doubtless, a career in academia, teaching the next generation. And the PhD student has now been visited by the United States Secret Service because he's written a tome on when must we kill them. And he's not talking about gang members from El Salvador. He's talking about Donald Trump and Elon Musk and 77 million people that voted for Donald Trump, presumably. But he's such a creep, such a terrorist, that he's perfect for academia, I think. Perfect. Just like Mahmoud Khalil, who they love. They're protesting at Harvard. They want him released. more Hamas on campus, and give us billions of dollars. These are the people that fund the Iranians and Hamas and the Houthis and Hezbollah. Yeah, what do you hear about this? Even Jonathan Turley is writing about the George Mason University student with his psychotic, murderous fantasies, and they're on an epic, kind of, dare I say, a Nazi scale. So the Democrat Party is truly out of control in 2025. Thank God I'm here. Ah, yes. All right, let us go to the telephones, Michael, to talk to the smart people, to the nice people. Let's go to Hugh, calling from Germantown, Maryland. Hugh, you're on the Chris Plant Show.
Well, good morning, Chris. I just want to comment by saying thank you to Senator Van Hollen for the marvelous job he's doing campaigning for the Republican Party in Maryland. I think he's doing a fantastic job of showing how the Democrat Party, not just in the state but across the country as a whole, fundamentally despise all Latinos. That rather than celebrate those Latinos, fine young men and women who are in the United States military, fine young men and women who contribute to the workforce, he's shown that the party just cares about gangbangers. Not only do they care about gangbangers, they're going to inflict gangbangers on you in a Latino community, whether you want it or not.
Yeah, that's right. And who's going to pay the price the most?
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's going to be the Latinos. It will be the families of the men and women with whom I served in the U.S. Army who will pay that price.
Right.
And what he also doesn't want to do is actually celebrate the broad achievements of Latinos across the board, both generationally, civilizationally, and historically. And I just touch on one thing. There is one way that mankind will actually get to the stars is a thing called the Alcubierre drive. The theory of that was worked out by Senor Alcubierre, who is a Mexican physicist. Wasn't done in MIT, wasn't done at Harvard or Yale, but it was done by a Mexican. And apparently that means nothing to the Democrat Party.
Yeah, they've got their priorities are extremely nutty, to be generous, Hugh. And you're right that Van Hollen is doing the Democrat Party's work for them, but they're so corrupt and they're so mentally unstable that this all looks normal to them. Thank you, Hugh.